Welcome to Drams and Dragons. My name's Gus Berger, and with me is my co-host, Dustin Van Horn.
Hey,
How are you, man?
I am great, Gus. Also a little tired, mostly great. Yeah. How are you doing?
Mostly a lot tired. I'm actually doing pretty well. Just yeah, a little bit of a tired day, tired week.
Yeah.
We had the kid's birthday party like
Oh.
last weekend. That was insanity.
Hmm.
You do not know how close we are, like to the edge of just like, oblivion, until you see children like attacking the pile of candy after a pinata breaks.
Oh yeah. It's
So
a
like
it's a scrum.
it's it's like a bait ball. It's like, like you ever see like a
Yeah.
nature show, like with like the sharks
Yeah.
and all that stuff going. Yeah.
They go
It's like
nuts.
that, but with
There's one
candy
kid
and little
crying
kids.
and ah,
Yeah. Kids getting their
yeah.
hands scratched. You know,
Uh-huh.
there's one kid that was like piling candy with his arms and like sitting on it so nobody else could get it. Yeah. It's cutthroat.
Yeah, dude, we're to the point where we don't do pinatas anymore. Every time we see one, it's just utter chaos.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'll keep it quick, but we had basically the opposite. We did a national park camping thing, and it was lovely and refreshing.
On that note, uh, the book the book we're gonna chat about today is the Golden Enclaves by Naomi Novik. This is book 3 in the Scholomance series. I think this will actually be like the first time we've done like 2 books in a series, like back to back episodes.
Mhm.
Uh, and I think it's just because like we just want to. It's not that we like just want to get done with it. I think both Dustin and I can speak for you. We both just really want to dive into it because the third book is like awesome.
Well, first of all, Gus, how dare you speak for me? But also, yes, I agree with everything you just said.
All right.
Yeah, we just couldn't wait, and there will be spoilers. Hopefully, you've read the third book. I
Yeah,
guess
this
we
is
could.
going to be
Yeah,
really spoilery
yeah,
because we can't even talk about this book at all without completely spoiling the rest of the series, right? So,
yeah,
because it's the last book in the series, duh.
yeah.
So yeah, so spoilers.
Spoilers.
Cool. Also, this is a whiskey show.
It is.
Also, we books, whiskey, nerd stuff, the whole,
Mhm.
all of it. So today, we are going to be also finishing up a series of whiskeys because we have the last of the character of Islay Whiskey Company tasting set. This last one is the Octomore 9-year-old 2011. The stories of wind and wave.
Ah, yes. Are you sure it's not something weird like Octomore or something like that?
No, I actually think this one is actually just Octomore.
Boo. Okay,
Like the
points
first
points
thing.
off.
How Scottish can it be? The name is pronounceable.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Well,
uh,
thank you. As our pronunciation expert, I appreciate your contribution there. Yes.
I mean, look, maybe it's like Octomore or something. I don't know.
Yes. Much better. Thank you.
Okay. Well, you can call it that if
Ah,
you want.
Octomore. Yeah, it's more
uh,
exciting. But yeah,
so
stories of wind and wave. Okay. Sorry, go on.
it's not like some super rare thing, but it is kind of a special thing. They put a new one out every year. It is ultra peated, ultra smoky. Every year's version is different than before. So they're doing almost kind of like experimental things to each batch of Octomore. If you have an Octomore from like 7, 8, years ago, it'll taste
Mhm.
one way. If you have an Octomore from today, it could be wildly different. They're not going for consistency here. They're going for interesting and different and
Mhm.
experimental and trying to push the boundaries of peated whiskey. The character of Islay Whiskey Company, they get this stuff, they put it in a barrel to age it a little bit in their own way. This is their version. This is their take. And that's what we have here.
Yeah, they're like special flowers, man. Yeah, they're very special. Even their bottles look different than other bottles. It's a very
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. They're going for a totally different thing.
Hmm. I'm more excited now, Gus. I hope the viewers or the listeners are feeling that too.
Yeah. So an Octomore is something I've never actually had before. It's
Mhm.
on my like bucket list kind of thing.
Mhm.
Because I love peated whiskeys. Octomores are like the most peated, heavily peated whiskeys in the world. There's a
Yes.
rating. There's a rating system.
Mhm.
Parts per million for how much peat is in the whiskey.
Yeah. If I could, real quick, Gus, they have it's called the whiskey peat scale, and there's
Mm-hmm.
lightly peated, moderately peated, heavily peated, and they do it by parts per million of the phenols.
Yeah.
So the Ardbeg, it's got as a 55, so it's high,
Yeah.
and then it has the Octomore listed right on here at 208 parts per million.
Yeah.
So quadruple the parts per million of the peated flavor for the Ardbeg, which is super peated.
Yeah.
So yeah, wow, it's very exciting.
Yeah. My understanding is it's so peated that it introduces, yeah, just a whole other set of flavors in it,
Oh,
smells. And so I'm very excited.
dude,
And
that's our clickbait title if we want one. Is it finally too much peat? Too peated? Find out.
you got to have like one of those stupid YouTube thumbnails where your face is like,
Uh,
uh, uh.
we're gonna do when we start YouTubing. We got to do that. We'll do it ironically. It'll be great.
Yeah. Oh God. All right, but I will also say I have to pour a little bit of this,
Yeah.
set this aside for Crystal because this is the one thing out of the set that she wanted to try.
Boy, and right off the bat, I'm showing here what 50% alcohol, so 100 proof.
Mm-hmm.
Might be a
Yeah,
strong one here.
yeah,
Okay.
50% right on the nose. So,
Yeah. Wow.
all right, I'm gonna
Okay.
crack this bottle
Let's crack
open.
it. All right. Ooh. Okay. So, listeners, the peat is just like immediate with this. It's strong and it's sharp. Oh,
See, I'm try to get a reasonable pour here for
yeah.
Crystal.
It's good of you guys. I'm back. I'm back. I'm back.
Ah,
Awesome. Major brownie, like husband brownie points just now. Her review was that it was delicious and it really blooms after you taste it. And then she wanted more.
You'd be like, "Can I go buy a bottle?"
All right, so let's start with the nose here.
Smoke.
Pete. Yes, Pete.
Just right
Yeah.
there. Smoke. Just smoke.
Oh,
Smoke.
oh boy, that's really going back there. I love it.
Yeah. Little family guy.
Let's see. Now you're getting land smoke or sea smoke here.
I would say sea smoke. I'm
Like
getting I'm getting maritime smoke.
maritime. Look at us. We're so fancy now.
I'm getting a little fruit.
Me too.
Maybe pear.
Yeah, not apple.
Not apple.
Mm-mm.
It's like trying to trick me, but then like my brain is like, it's not apple. Like
Mm-hmm.
at first, when I first start to smell it, it's like, is that apple? And then it's like, no, it's similar. So maybe pear.
God, there's a lot of apple. Feels like every time almost.
I know it's like everything is like apple. I just smell nothing
Apple.
but apples. Apple. I mean, apple's a very common whiskey smell. It's just part of the
Mm-hmm.
deal.
You know what I'm getting to is like kind of a ripe Concord grape kind of smell a little bit, like a really
Yeah,
like
I see that.
tanniny sweet kind of so
Yeah.
tannins. Yeah.
Sultanas. No,
Ooh, there you go.
no.
I think we should come up with some weird shit to do. I'm really trying to go for their tasting thing here.
Sultanas in a blast furnace.
Yes. It's perfect. That's perfect. Let's check out these legs here because the visual is what you see, or it's the smell of the eyes. Wait, don't listen to that. I don't know what that means.
The smell of the eyes.
Some dour thought stuff right there. It's been a long night, man. So you know what I've noticed about a lot of legs, like some swirling, and I'm seeing like super oily and a lot of legs form. It's not like something where it's just like one or two legs. This has a lot of legs, one might say.
There's a smell I'm trying to get.
Okay, wait. Almost like floral, kind of not vanilla.
Say more like Tahitian vanilla.
I don't know what that is, but it sounds, yeah, it's like an exotic vanilla.
It's like a more floral vanilla. It is not quite as peaty smelling as I feel like everyone has been led to believe. It's definitely peatier than any of the other things we've had from this set. I don't think it's 4 times peatier than Ardbeg.
I would agree with you. And there is an effect too. If you smell something long enough, your brain will start to filter out certain things. So when we first opened it, I got the smoke right off the bat, and now everything else is coming out. Well, shoot, man, I'm ready to taste.
Yeah, that smoke is intense.
Yeah, it's the smokiest thing. This is more than Lafroig and
Ardbeg, and yeah, I get it. On the nose, it's not quite so intense. On the palate, it's really intensely smoky.
Mm-hmm.
That's delicious.
It's so
really
good.
It's really good.
Smooth. It's a weird thing we talked about last time because it was like 52% alcohol, and it just hit like a truck, and it wasn't smooth.
And this is 50%, and it's just like buttery smooth.
Wow.
And I think buttery is actually a good word for it. It's got a really nice mouth feel on the way down, and it's the first two things that I noticed when it went in initially were an effervescence and combined with sort of an initial spice. Like sort of, it was like this spicy, tingly thing at the front of my mouth when I first sipped it. And there is a lot to unpack here. I think it's going to take some sips to get a bunch of notes here, but there's a lot going on. And it was like a deluge of just notes that are going to have to like slowly pick out here. But overall, just wonderful, wonderful drink.
Yeah.
It's got a really nice balance of sweetness. It's not like a sweet one. It's got some sherry notes on the palate, but it's not overly sweet. It's got a little of that tannin, but not too much.
For me right now, it's got a little bit of a leather kind of vibe to it.
Yes, I totally agree with that. Yeah. It's got leather for sure. I would go so far as to say some tobacco, like cigar smoke. It's got some definite cigar smoke. It's like, this is like cigar, leather, smoke, and like sherry hints throughout. That's how I'm experiencing this. It's wonderful. And it's smooth, and especially smooth for 50%.
Yeah.
And especially so for how much smoke there is in it.
Oh, it's so smoky.
Yeah, the raisininess is starting to reveal itself, almost like a chocolatiness too.
Yeah,
like there's a chocolatiness in here. Not the sweetness of chocolate, but like the like flavor of like
a super
really
dark chocolate.
Dark. Yeah, really dark. Yeah.
Like 90 plus kind of thing.
Tobacco, leather, chocolate. It's all these really sort of sumptuous flavors. And shape, we talk shape.
Yeah.
I think it's very round for me in a really nice way. I don't find any edges to it. I don't find any corners. It's very smooth. Everything kind of comes together. It's very well balanced. Yeah.
Yeah, it's big, it's round. I like our person analogy last time. Like if the last one was like a scurvy sea captain with hair on his chest, this to me is like Lord Nelson or something, like a admiral of the high seas drinking.
Yeah, this is like British, nobleman in his parlor, having whiskey and cigars. I actually just on that last sip, I actually got some citrus.
What?
Out of nowhere.
Crazy.
Yeah, this is like I said at the start, there are layers here. Like I could just tell the first sip, it was just like this cacophony. And it was like, at first it's like everything is just hitting all at once in this big maelstrom of smoky flavors. And then as you start sipping, you can start to pick them out, and different things come to the forefront and then fade away. And it's, it's one of those special whiskeys. I can see why for a lot of people, the Octomore is like their yearly splurge.
Yeah, this might be mine this year. How's the finish hitting you? I've find it's pretty pleasant. It has that like very long finish, and the smoky. It's like you said, it reminds me of being in like a cozy inn, like in the Scottish countryside, and there's peat burning on the in the fire, and you're just hanging out in your chair, and it's really really comfy.
It reminds me very, very closely of the of of like cigar. I don't smoke very often. I have asthma. I don't, it's not something I do very often, but every once in a while, like every once a decade or something, I'll have like a cigar.
Yeah,
And it is very, very close. Like the
the
finish is
mouth
very
feel.
close.
Yeah.
Yeah, the mouth feel, the back of the throat,
Wow,
there's sort of
weird.
a, it's very tobacco-y to me,
Mhm.
in a really pleasant, in the best possible way. And yeah, it's just that back of the throat, back of the mouth, and it just goes. It's just, it's still there. It's just there. It's not going anywhere. I expect that will probably still, when I'm done with this, I still have a little bit in my glass here. I suspect that when I'm done with this, we'll get to the end of the episode, and I'll still be, I'll still be tasting this
Oh
just
yeah,
a little bit at the back.
dude. Later
It's
when
a
you
really nice finish.
oh yeah, I think it's so smoky that later on when you like pee before bed, you're going to be like, oh, a little smoky. Well, lovely.
Man,
Well, that's pretty good. Yeah, this is really cool. Should we compare some notes here?
I am very curious what they said. Bringing out the notes.
Okay.
Ooh.
Here, I'll
Hmm.
do the nose here. Let's see. Coastal air and seaweed, plus hints of milky coffee, a vanilla pod. Ooh, we got the vanilla.
And the coastal sort of maritime.
Mm-hmm. They missed the pear though. Poor them.
Yeah.
They just don't have the developed palates we do. And the Tahitian vanilla is very important, I think.
Vanilla
Milky.
can go a lot of ways. If they say vanilla, we did any kind of vanilla, boom.
Yeah, the milky coffee. I could kind of see the coffee a little bit, like
I mean, I think we
sweet.
picked it up later as chocolate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so.
Coffee and chocolate in whiskey. If you're saying really dark chocolate, somebody else says coffee, that's a pretty
Yeah, same category.
similar, same sort of ballpark.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if somebody says apple or grape, maybe you say pear,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah,
So
same ballpark.
same
I see.
ballpark, yeah. I'll do the palate. So fresh fruit, yeah, green apples,
Mm-hmm.
white
Ah,
grapes, and more. They don't even say what and more fruit. They're just like there's a fruitiness you can't define. Well,
yes.
yeah, and more. Yeah, shortly followed by another helping of smoky peat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. There's a
Pretty accurate there.
another shovel full of peat. Like
Yeah. And yeah, and the white grapes are interesting. Yeah, like if you ever like a dessert wine kind of style, like that kind of like the sweet. So then the finish, nothing crazy so far. I think they've been pretty spot nutty, a bit nutty, they say,
we'll
on
see
the
if we can get
finish.
that.
But once again, still peaty. Gotta be honest with you, Gus.
I
I'm
don't
not
get the
getting any
nutty.
nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This whiskey had no nuts.
No,
No.
no nuts. No,
Uh
I still get that cigar
yeah. Yeah, I'm still getting
tobacco
that
kind of
cigar.
weird.
I could see the coffee a little bit. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
that I would say that was on the nose for me. That was more on the finish.
Yeah.
Like we've talked about earlier, the Octomore is, they put out a yearly release. They're all different. If you go buy an Octomore, it's not going to be exactly like this by any means. It might have very different characteristics to it. The main thing that they all share is that they're extremely peated. They will put them in different casks. They will mix different types of different years and different, but the point is they're extremely peated. They're usually really good by all accounts.
Mm-hmm.
And they usually cost about $250 or so.
Yeah.
So if you're looking to splurge, I don't know if you're going to be able to find this exact Octomore. Uh, so me recommending other Octomores is kind of like, well, I didn't taste other ones because they could be very different. This one's really good. I really enjoyed this version of this Octomore. It was fantastic. Do I want to try more Octomores based upon it?
Heck
Absolutely.
yeah. Yep.
Definitely. Wow. Yes. Um, do I recommend you go out and try Octomores based on this? Absolutely. Just be aware of that sort of difference, right? Where it's, you might not be able to find this exact one. I also don't think I would recommend it necessarily if you're going too much beyond that price point. So sometimes they get kind of collectible, especially for older ones.
Yeah.
Because they put out such a limited batch of each year. So just some things to be aware of.
Yeah.
But yes, I recommend it. How about you, man?
So the first time I tried Octomore was at a tasting. And that's something I kind of recommend to everybody listening. If you want to get into the hobby and if you want to try some cool stuff, find a local pub. A lot of Irish bars tend to do like whiskey tastings. They'll have clubs. I mean, it's a fun thing to do. You go and you taste, but that's how I had my first Octomore, and it was memorable, like this one is. But I think that's a great way to try some stuff, including Octomores, because a lot of times they will do that. That's usually how they'll go. They'll have 3 or 4 bottles of kind of normal stuff to kind of get a good variety, and then they'll have like a special bottle to be like, all right, this is some heavy stuff, like some good stuff. But if I were to go out and get something, I think for me the heavily peated stuff is a bit of a one trick pony, and it would be hard for me to spend like 250 on it.
Mhm.
I would love to be gifted it. I would be absolutely thrilled. But yeah, I'd probably grab like an Ardbeg and a Lagavulin and have like 2 or 3 whiskeys that I really like. That's yeah, I would probably go more. But
Yeah. Yeah. For me, yeah.
I
For
guess that's an
me,
answer. Yeah.
yeah, I know it is. And it's interesting. I think this is one of the few times we've disagreed.
Mm,
I think for a special occasion, I think that what was in this glass would be worth that sort of normal Octomore price. I'm not going to go spend way more on it, but and I don't go around buying bottles of whiskey that are that price on the regular. That is not something I normally do.
mhm.
If I had to shell out something in that price range, an Octomore would be high on that list. I thought it was great.
Well, maybe here's a good halfway, and this is another kind of cool trick you can do. Like Gus, if we lived in the same place, I'd say, dude, let's go in on it, and this will be like our bottle of whiskey, and
Mm-hmm.
it's part of whiskey tasting is the experience of it. It's the people you drink the whiskey with and share that experience with, and it's a really cool way to do that, and just have it be the communal whiskey that you have when it's like we're hanging out, we're having a good time. Maybe there's a cigar involved, but yeah, that's
Yeah.
probably where I'd go. But dude, I don't even know if I'd want to hoard it to myself. Like it was so good, I was like, I gotta give this to Katie. I
Yeah.
gotta share it with my people. So yeah, I guess I do. I recommend it wholeheartedly. It's great. It's wonderful. I'd probably find alternative ways to enjoy it though, like a club or like a group buy.
Yeah. I think this way of enjoying it, which is we bought a tasting set. I definitely recommend that as well. But I could see the Octomore as like a special occasion buy.
Yeah, for sure. It's such a special one that we've taken up our usual whole podcast time with talking about the whiskey. That's saying
Wow,
something.
yeah, and it's going to be a lot of editing to get that down.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh,
As I said before, the book we're going to be talking about is The Golden Enclaves by Naomi Novik, the third book in this Scholomance series. Spoilers. This whole
yeah.
episode is going to be spoilers.
Yeah.
So, what about the fucking Mawmouths,
The fuck
dude?
we got to talk about the Mawmouth right away. Um
Yeah.
so I we talked about we did a lot of stuff on like metal stuff, and like really dark fantasy, and I thought this was a really cool. It's just a whole mixture of like body horror, of tentacle monster kind of stuff, like gross, but also it was metal, man. It was like some dark, grim dark type shit.
Right. I
And
mean, like, it
yeah,
really goes down that path, right?
yes, Yeah.
I mean, it's like it's some bleak shit. So to reiterate sort of from the previous books, what's going on is, the wizard kids all went to this school because the world is dangerous and full of these mals, these monsters, magical monsters. The Mawmouths are kind of the biggest and scariest and baddest of these monsters. The kids were all sent to the school, the Scholomance. At the end of the last book, the kids all escaped and they basically lured all of the mals in the entire world, essentially, or near enough, into the school and then closed it behind them. The big spoiler at the end of the last book was, or not the big spoiler, the big cliffhanger at the end of the last book was Orion basically pushed Elle through the portal to leave the school and then shut the gate.
And not in like an not like an I love you, I'm sacrificing myself. It was like this is where I belong kind of vibe.
Yeah.
And he just got done doing some very mouth shit. Like he's over there holding back a giant wall of mouths, right? Really cool
Mm-hmm.
scene. And everyone's expecting him to die or get overrun, and he's not. He's kind of doing what a mouth would do. He's like
He's
absorbing them.
sucking it all up. Yeah.
And then
Like
he
a
kind
big
of loses.
vacuum cleaner.
And I guess, yeah, it was surprising to me because I knew something was up. I knew there was some sort of power thing. I knew there was a sacrifice of some sort to get the power that the wizard, the enclaves have. Because the
Mm-hmm.
whole book is about that. It's about the imbalance of power. It's about the sacrifice of something. I was like, there's got to be something going on. I never put two and two together.
Yeah.
And when the Monmouth stuff started happening, there were clues because that's the other part at the end of book two. A giant Mawmouth appears. It's a conglomeration of the two big ones that had been. What was it? I forget the names. They had
Oh,
like
I
Verity and
forget the names
Patience or
too.
something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So it's this one giant Mawmouth. Orion chooses to like put himself inside of that, and so you end book two thinking that God, Orion's been taken, but they leave you a little bit of a clue. Um, Elle kills one of them, like a small one that had latched onto one of her friends. And earlier in book two, she had killed the other one when she got the book.
Mm-hmm.
And you get the first clue of like something happens on the outside when Elle does shit on the inside.
Yeah.
And I loved how subtle it was because I didn't get it at all.
Yeah. Yeah. There was a lot of that. There are a lot of clues. This is one of those books, one of those like series where if you go backwards, once you finished it, you go back and you start thinking about things or start rereading things, and you're
Mm-hmm.
like, oh,
Yeah.
well, now that all makes sense. Or,
Yeah.
oh, that's even worse than I thought it was. Like,
Yeah.
but ultimately, there's what we're sort of alluding to is one of the big reveals in this book is that, essentially the mom mouths are people
Mm-hmm.
who have been sacrificed to power up these enclaves,
Yeah.
right? Which are these safety, and each enclave is tied to a Mawmouth. So when Elle kills a Mawmouth, shit happens to
Yeah.
the
The
enclave.
foundation
The
is cracked.
foundations literally are like, yeah, well, the enclave basically gets destroyed.
Yeah.
It's like one of the big reveals of the book, right?
Yeah. It's
One of
even
the series, yeah.
well, it's fucked up too because it's a sacrifice, like it's a literal sacrifice, and they know what they're doing, and there's a
Mhm.
it's an ethical moral dilemma. It's we will sacrifice one person to provide a safe place, a safe haven for our people and our kids, but to do it they have to take someone they don't want to get they basically crush them to death,
Yeah.
and they have to use someone that uses pure mana too, so like no one that's taken any mana from, like it's only people that have used their own mana that they've created themselves. And so there's this thing where they have to like sacrifice like a pure person. And so it really, yeah, it's a cool moral dilemma thing. It's like a college philosophy class a little bit.
Yeah.
But then they create this Mawmouth, which is just horrifying. It's they unleash a monster on the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's not even the last reveal with Mawmouths, right?
Yeah.
That's just the first delicious tidbit.
Well, it's not the first tidbit, but it's because there's a whole progression that happens in this book
Mm-hmm.
of, sort of successive series of reveals.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that one's one of the like the middle ones, right? Uh, we know L is like this wizard who could just like cast destructive magic with the flick of her wrist. She doesn't even care. And some spells actually require her to like not care, right, and just sort of do it,
Yeah.
flip it, like just completely flippantly.
Yeah.
And in fact, one of these spells that just it's like if you do it flippantly and you don't even care, it works perfectly and it kills whatever you're trying to kill. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and if you screw it up, if you're not flippant enough about the killing, it kills you, right?
Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah, and this is so this L who could just do this spell. It's like if you are familiar with Harry Potter, it's just like a Avada Kedavra or whatever it's called, the
Yeah,
instant kill
yeah.
spell. It's like that. Except if you fuck it up, it turns back on you and blows you up. But she could just do this at will, and it's not like tainting her soul. It's not that kind of magic system. But she basically she can just kill Mawmouths by the not that far into this book, right? So she gets called in to go save one of the enclaves, the
Yeah.
London enclave, right? It's like the first section of this book, and she finds the Mawmouth and just yeah,
She tells it
casts her
it's dead.
spell.
Yeah, she
Yeah,
creates her own spell, which
she
is really
creates her own
cool.
spell,
Yeah.
and she's just like, "You're dead, you're dead, you're dead," and it just dies. And
Yeah,
she's
you're already
like, she
dead.
has this incredible magical power, for just sheer destruction.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and then of course when she kills that Mawmouth is connected to the creation of an enclave,
Was that the
right?
Shanghai one? Or is
I
it the
believe so, or
Hong Kong or Shanghai? Maybe
yeah, it was
Hong
one of
Kong.
the eight. It was one of the other ones. So
Yeah.
it's like this Mawmouth has like gotten into this enclave. It's not from that enclave, um, but it senses the power there and it's trying to consume it. And so
Yeah.
she kills this thing, and by killing it, she unleashes a disaster she doesn't even know she's unleashing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's this way. The thing that one of the things that I loved about this book, and I know it's like kind of like a trendy thing for like Disney or whatever, like these different um you know movie makers or whatever to like use this subject and like base all kinds of stuff on it, but it's the idea right about like generational trauma,
Mm-hmm.
right, and the things that like our parents generation are doing or have done, the systems that they've put in place that like
Mm-hmm.
fuck us up and traumatize us and kill us, and we just sort of kind of accept it. um but it's like it's got this horrible cost to it,
Mm-hmm.
and we're just kind of almost complicit
Mm-hmm.
uh, in that wrongdoing simply because we don't do anything about it. We don't try to change the system. We just live within the system that protects us. And I'm talking about this from the perspective of like an enclave student, right? Or an
Yeah.
enclave kid. They just kind of have to like live in that.
Yeah.
Um, so it's a really interesting discussion of that subject. Um, I thought it was
Mm-hmm.
a just incredibly written, uh, compelling story. Um, one of the better sort of takes. Uh, it was one of the better takes of that I have read or
Mm-hmm.
watched or seen or whatever it is. Maybe even the best take of that concept that I've seen or read.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah,
No, I think you put that really well, and I hadn't really thought of it along those lines. There's the social power components and stuff, but the way they illustrated that really well, like the generational difference was with Orion's mom, who is a Maleficer. Like she's not just like a baby Maleficer. She's
Mhm.
like Queen Evil kind of lady.
Like
But
Maleficent.
yeah, yeah, she's a Maleficent Maleficent. But
Yeah.
she does it. She it's what you said. It's like all of us using iPhones. We don't think of the stuff that goes into our phones or our technology or the batteries we use. And this is a person who understands this on a broad scale and says, look, we got to keep our kids safe. So I'm going to do some evil shit, even sacrifice kids. There's a lot of metal shit. Like one of the classes, you find out that, you read about the first one, like the whole class was killed by maleficers. They were actually all sacrifices. Um,
Yeah.
and she took all their energy and did stuff. But yeah, but then you meet Elle, who's younger, and she has the idealistic, not going to compromise on this stuff. Um, and yeah, it's incredible to think about, man, because they built these shining cities of safety, but to do it, they unleashed just horrific horrors on the world that literally, I mean, the whole thing with the Mawmouths is you never die. It just takes you apart on, I don't know if it's a molecular level, but it just takes your whole body apart. And then you live on as a part of the Mawmouth. And I just can't think of that. It's one of the most fucked up things I've read about. And the idea of like creating that for safety, there's a lot of parallels with what we do
Mhm.
today. Like we do horrible stuff so that we can, I mean, if you want to get into like animal stuff, like so you can have a cheeseburger, like it's some nasty, this talk about
Yeah.
seeing the sausage made. This is some serious sausage.
Yeah. Or
So
even
yeah,
just
that's
the fact that we all live in America, you know,
mm-hmm.
and what our ancestors did, or very likely did or took part in, uh,
Yeah.
just to live on the land we live on.
Yep.
And yeah, I think there's a lot of parallels to all of this. One of the things about you're talking about the horror, the body horror,
Yeah.
of the mom mouths, is
Mm-hmm.
there's a scene that got me,
Oh.
and which is the scene where they're trying to turn her friend into a mom mouth
Ugh.
to rebuild or whatever, to refortify their enclave, because
Mm-hmm.
it's falling apart because their mom mouth is dead, and they're like, we need to make a new Mawmouth. And her friend is pure. She's not a maleficer.
Mm-hmm.
Her friend is pure. And so they're going to use her. She's at hand. And so they're going to use her as the sacrifice. And they get like, what is like halfway there.
Yeah. She's
And
being
she's being
smushed.
killed. She's being smushed. She's in the smushifying
Mm-hmm.
process that is well on its way to turning her into a Mawmouth. And you know, it's an intense scene. Elle has to save her. Elle has to stop this and save her. And ultimately they do. But like, damn,
Yeah.
that was an intense scene.
Yeah, it really was. Yeah, it was visceral, great writing for it. Um, and yeah, I had the same feeling I do whenever I've, come across, I go back to the animal stuff. Like if you've ever just seen something that doesn't want to die being killed against its will, it's not something that leaves you. It's something that's visceral. It's part of our humanity and being alive. It's very uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, something about sacrifices, man. Even back to like remember the Wicker Man and all that stuff, like
Mm-hmm.
the pagan sacrifice rituals and stuff. It's always like just creeped me right out, and it gets to me. Something about it just
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, this author, she got me too, man. I know for me, I had basically three other things. Well, one, I didn't expect the relationship with Lizelle to go the direction it did.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
there was some fun reading with that. Um, But
Yeah, I didn't expect that either. For me, it was, I don't know if there was supposed to be some kind of tension earlier, and then it just, I was like, that was, yeah, out of left field for me, but
well, the narrator, it
I
was
mean, that
like that
also
for the
made
narrator
sense.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So yeah, that was cool. Again, I enjoyed the like, having a German friend to help organize everything. That was a fun trope that I liked. It's true to life. But yeah, do the second big reveal for the Mawmouth was interesting, and the Orion reveal was
yeah,
another. So basically, um, Orion's mother, who's like a Maleficent, right? She takes her unborn fetus and sacrifices that fetus as a Mawmouth, and then she takes the Mawmouth that is created from the fetus, and then she basically puts it back in Orion. And Orion, he is a Mawmouth. And
but
am
he's
I get
also Orion.
yeah, he's also a kid.
Yeah, he's both him. Yeah, he's both a sort of strange kid, but
Mm-hmm.
also but also a mouth. It's sort of this weird thing where he's not really either, and it takes a lot of fixing to make him kind of functional again after his experience, because he does get rescued. There's a
Mm-hmm.
section of the book, a couple of chapters there, where they reopen the school, they go back to the school. Yes, they closed it, but all the mouths are dead because they were stuck in, because he wasn't stuck in there with them. They were stuck in there with him,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. And he ate them.
And the mom mouth part of him just sort of sucked up all the mouths and turned it into mana,
Yeah.
which was the whole point of building him, right? Which was an unlimited, virtually unlimited source of mana.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And
because
it worked.
they have mana sharing devices and all kinds of stuff, and so yeah, he could just generate all the mana that the New York Enclave would ever need.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Yeah.
one of those.
Uh,
I kind of saw that relationship between uh, Orion and Elle and his mother as being this kind of thing where like they're dating, right? And she's like yeah, he's kind of dead at the time, right? Or they think he's dead, he's gone at the time, but she's kind of like the L's kind of like the girlfriend meeting the insane narcissistic mother who's like completely fucked up her child, and like and she's got to like kind of shut her mouth, hold her tongue, a little bit, and like, but she's like, oh, you're the reason your son is so fucked up, and
yes.
like uh
Oh, that was a great. It was cool too. I love I mean, again, author, the characters earn stuff like
mhm,
there's scenes where Orion being a Monmouth is like the horror of it is earned. Like she does a great job of showing it when Orion
mhm,
meets Elle's mother and things like that in the healing process, and how he
yeah,
kind of goes blank and can still suck people, do the thing,
yeah,
suck their souls out or whatever.
yeah,
But yeah, the take I got with her mom was interesting. It was like it was a mirror for Elle. This is a woman who is actually what Elle was worried she would be her whole life.
yeah,
And I thought about it in a relational way too. I was like, isn't it interesting that Orion was attracted to somebody like his mom? So there's a couple things there. It's a familiar woman figure. I'm not going Oedipus type stuff on it. I'm just saying like she. It was so sweet though the way she was able to care for him and be there for him as only she could, because she was basically a dark queen in waiting.
mhm,
But she had her good heart, she had her good soul, and it was basically all a lie. But she's the only person on earth. Like, and that was for me. That was one of the coolest reveals of the book. Was that they were when all of the children died that one year, and it created Orion. She was born right after Orion, and that was like the magic system's way of balancing itself out. And so you had these
No.
two people that were balance points. That was such a cool reveal, man. So,
Well, and their mothers are kind of like that too,
ah,
right? Because
yep,
like Orion's mother is like this insane, evil maleficer, and Elle's mother is like this like loving, nurturing, almost overly nurturing, like
yes,
healer, uh and not just physical healing, but like spiritual, like soul healing. And like she's got, and so they're like the mothers are like these completely opposite figures. And yeah, like Orion can never be fixed, not completely,
mm-hmm.
right? But like Elle's mother is the one, right, that like brings him back and
Yeah,
like gets him functional again, right? Just because she's able to give so much of herself
mm-hmm.
in that healing process. And it was really, yeah, it was really a really interesting sort of contrast, really interesting parallel
Yeah,
between the parents and the mothers of their, of these two characters. And
mm-hmm. And yeah,
yeah,
and man, yeah, you're so right. And that I think the family stuff was the last real thing I wanted to talk about, which was like she had the basically the hero coming home after discovering the truth kind of moment. She
mm-hmm.
kind of she discovered that basically she's been fed a lie for her entire life. And it was cool. She kind of became like her mother. Like she just left it up to the universe, and she managed to get on a plane and go to India, and she visited her family, and there was her grandmother waiting for her, like
Yeah,
crying. And so basically her grandmother has, like, she has foresight. She can see everything that's going to happen, all the different avenues. And she said this was the only way, basically, was to have her
yeah,
be rejected by her family.
like
And
that scene. It's like that scene. It's like in the Infinity War, where like
oh
Doctor
yeah,
Strange has the time stone and he's like looking at
yes,
every possibility, millions of possibilities, and he's like, do we have any chance? There's one.
just one.
We have to tell this little girl that she's gonna be evil. And then she's gonna live her whole life trying not to be evil. And she's gonna be an outcast and it's gonna really suck. But
Yeah.
someday she'll come home and she'll find out the truth and everything will be good again.
Oh
So
man. And dude, it goes back to what you're talking about, generational trauma. I think that's one of the
yeah.
just probably the biggest theme of this book is that trauma is terrible. However, so much human growth and so much of the beautiful things in life come out of the worst things in life. And it's the weirdest thing about life. And I just thought it was beautifully done in the book. And then, the family kind of making up, and again, I thought she writes feelings very well. Like I felt it was a
Mhm.
very visceral book for that, with the feelings that came out. So yeah, it was such a great read. Anything else stand out to you with the book? Like
I'm sure that as soon as we're like done and we sign off and all that, I'll probably start thinking of things again. But I think
yeah,
I'm happy with how we've covered the book.
same here. And I guess I don't really have anything negative to say about it. I think the only other kind of the cool scene was when they were going in, kind of another cool concept was like the in between areas that still
Mm-hmm.
existed because people thought they existed,
Yeah.
which the school was too. And so for the listeners, like when they're escaping the London enclave, they go through they go through basically, like, they have to get high, like really high, like super duper high, or they'll go insane and they'll be lost in the void. But they go through like these
Yeah.
little pocket realities, and yeah, I thought that was cool.
Yeah. There are some really cool concepts that are in the book. I thought that was a very cool one. I actually kind of forgot about that in all the other pieces that I was thinking
Yeah,
about in the run up to talking about it. That because it does matter. I mean, it does matter in terms of the story and them understanding. Oh, we can go back into the school, right? We just got to do it right.
yeah,
Um, so it was important to the story, but it also kind of like was a smaller piece of the whole thing. So it's kind of, yeah, but that was a really cool thing. Yeah, man. I'm good. I'm good. I would
yeah.
just
I'm
say
good too.
that I would just say that I recommend this book a lot. I think It's one of the better fantasy series, one of the better fantasy books. It's relatively short. I mean, I would, I would say it's one of the better fantasy series, if not my favorite fantasy series of the last couple of years.
Yeah,
Um,
I'd agree with
yeah,
that. Yeah. I think it's wife approved too. Katie just inhaled them like
yeah,
especially at the end of the book too. I mean, she did the library, and they're at the library, especially if you
mhm,
have what's that, Libby.
yeah,
Pretty easy to get at the library, but yeah, I agree, man. It was a breath of fresh air, and I know for me, it scratched. I have an urban fantasy thing. Like I love Jim Butcher and the Dresden Files and stuff like that. It kind of scratched that itch a little bit. Like I like a
yeah,
good magic, hidden world, what you believe is real kind of thing. That stuff
mhm,
always gets me. And yeah, it's
yeah. It,
kind of
it
my
did. I will say this. It did remind me a lot in certain ways, not in every way, but in certain ways, it reminded me a lot of like the old like the White Wolf like Mage, the Awakening or whatever role playing
oh
game system.
yeah,
Yeah, it
oh
actually reminded
yeah,
me quite a bit of the Mage system.
I can see
Um,
that.
yeah, not in every way, but in some ways,
Yeah, might have
like
been
that
a.
belief in them. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like it would be a contributor to it. Like, yeah, I'd love to pick her brain about her influences and what went
Hmm.
into it.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, so yeah, definitely recommend for me too. And,
Cool. Yeah, I'm glad,
oof,
man.
yeah, yeah, thanks for recommending it, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, of
Yeah.
course. Thank you for listening to Drams and Dragons. Hope you've enjoyed the show tonight and hope to see you on the next one. Good night.
And stay gold.
Always.
Dang it, I almost had it. Yes, always.
We almost got through that
Dude, you did so
outro.
good. It was me. It was me. I
We
can't end
almost got
stuff.
through that outro.
Ah.